Welcome back to Outriders. In this video we are doing a little test on something that has come up in comments and other people are making videos about it already. It's regarding the downscaling on this game because the scaling is completely... I can't think of a word to describe it. It's an absolute mess how they've scaled this game. So we're going to start the Horace Hunter mission and I'm on world tier 15. I've got all my gear and we're going to check and see exactly how much I take damage and how much damage I deal, because there's something that could possibly make this a lot easier. So farms will be easier. Apparently it works in expeditions, which I'll be testing as well. But for now we're just going to stick to the Hunter Horace mission, and I can actually test it right at the beginning. So if I get here and we get the enemies to spawn in. Okay, so I have a level 48 weapon. My Heir to the Desert is level 48. And you can see that I still get hit pretty hard. And I can't exactly breeze my way through this. I mean, actually, if I survive it, I'll test it at the boss fight. So, restock. I'm going to take down the boss and the other behemoth. So my damage numbers could be, they should be much higher. I've got a level 40, like my average item level is 48, but apparently it gets downscaled to like 44. Because for some reason, this game naturally only lets you be 2 levels tougher. Like it scales you down to only being 2 levels tougher than the enemies you're taking on. But, providing I survive it, these behemoths really are doing me in. Please don't let me die. Don't die. Don't die. Okay, so... please let me get my health back. Do an earthquake. Oh, this is such a mess. Okay, boss is dead. So I'm going to wait for all the loot to drop. Got a couple of purples in there, which is nice. So, pick up all that stuff. Let these wipe me. And you've seen how much I've struggled. What we're going to do is we're going to take off my trousers, I think. It depends, like, you can take off any gear piece. But what I'll do is I'll scrap everything that's spare in my inventory. Make sure you don't accidentally dismantle anything when you decide to do, like, if you decide to do this. So, I don't want to get, I'm not getting rid of my gloves because they've got the extra damage. So, if I just take these off, so if I press Y, unequip. So I click there, they're there. So, I've lost quite a bit of health. In fact, it's almost halved. But now, if I run around, this should actually scale. It doesn't seem to be making much of a difference. It's supposed to make a fairly big difference. I mean, to be fair, I've lost a lot of health, but at the same time, I don't seem to be dealing much less damage. Obviously, it's going to be harder for me to stay alive because my health is lower. I've also heard that this actually works better with abilities, like guns aren't your best bet. So let me wipe, and I'm going to take off my boots. Yeah, I might as well. So get rid of those. I'll mark these so that I know that the only purple I've got is the stuff that I need to equip again. So, dismantle that stuff. Now, still got my gear pieces there, because apparently the way this works, you'll see that my health is only 4200 now. Apparently, what the game does to scale you up is it counts the level, or something like that, of all 5 of your gear pieces. So, if everything is level 50, that in total is 250. So when you go and do something like a World Tier 15 hunt or like farm or whatever, it basically calculates all of your gear levels and it downscales you according to that. So if you take bits of gear off, I think it's up to like 1 or 2 bits. I don't think any more is going to make much of a difference. You're just going to become really, really squishy and not be able to do anything, because I don't think it downscales too much. But you take off 1 or 2 pieces. If you take off 1, your level of your gear goes from 250 to 200. Then if you take off another, it goes down to 150. So basically, the game will say, right, this person has a fairly low average item level sort of thing. We're going to scale that accordingly. And then you look at the game looks at the content you're doing, and it goes, oh, we don't actually need to downscale at all. So your skills, your abilities, and your weapons should be that little bit stronger against the enemies. And this works best if you're trying to help like some of your friends through the story and stuff. Because obviously I'm probably going to pretty much get one-tapped. I don't think this was the best example, but you can see that I'm still dealing a very good amount of damage. Even though I might wipe very quick because of how low my health is. I did wipe, but you saw from me just attacking that behemoth. I'll do it once more, then I'll put a piece of gear back on. So if I can get this behemoth to come up here first. I mean, is it even going to make his way up here? I'm still getting some very high damage numbers. Because obviously I've not changed my weapon. This is going to be better for probably any other class in the game. The Devastator's so tough to actually use. But yeah, I almost killed them, and I only have 4,200 health. So, let me put on... If I put the trousers back on, we're just leaving my boots off. So, we'll try again, back up to 8,300 health. Right, I'm absolutely battering that normal behemoth. So not the boss one. And I've got more health. So it all depends on what you're doing in the game. And that is the boss down. So inventory, we'll go back to the boots. There we go. That's my normal stuff. So my health will go back up. And I've now got 16.5k again. But the game, I mean, it doesn't look as though it's actually made much of a difference. But apparently this is how you beat the downscaling. I mean, I've heard from open world games that it's not so much your weapons, it's more your skills. So if you have an anomaly power based build, this is probably, like taking gear pieces off is probably going to be way more beneficial. Okay, it also seems to have just grabbed all of my stuff. Let me test that again, because during the demo, I actually put out a video talking about it, because it never used to pick up the stuff when I was solo. Yeah, I think if you've got a firepower based build, this isn't going to work anywhere near as good. I think this is mainly for anomaly power, because you're taking off bits of gear. So even if I wipe at this stage, oh, there we go. Yeah, it did pick it up. Although I don't think everything dropped off the boss. Let me try it by taking a piece of gear off, because I can't seem to actually kill them when I've got everything on. Right, come on, please. I mean, it does seem to make a difference, doesn't it? It doesn't seem noticeable in, like, I'm not dealing extra damage as such. But I'm surviving better when I've taken a piece of gear off. Which, it shouldn't be the case, but this game is just weird. Okay, so I'm going to risk all that gear. I'm just going to wipe after it's all dropped. So let's see if the game picks it all up. Because it didn't do this during the demo. There we go, it did pick it all up. There's my purples coming through. Okay, so you don't need to press down. So thank you, everyone in the comments has told me about that. And yeah, it seems easier to take down these bosses by taking my trousers off. So the game basically says to you, you want to perform good, you want to do really well and not be downscaled to the point of it becoming a struggle when it's supposed to be really easy, take your trousers off for me. It's kind of a weird one, how that works. I don't think it has to be trousers, but I've used that because to take my gloves off, I'd lose a load of like assault weapon damage and close range damage and stuff. But yeah, it's an incredibly weird one how the downscaling works in this game. And just the fact that without my trousers, half of my health, I was actually able to take the behemoths down, like, pretty much, like, well, actually better. I was going to say pretty much the same, but better, because I wasn't dying. I was actually able to take them down. So it does make the game a little bit easier, but I've heard that anomaly power-based builds will be much better than a fire power-based build. So yeah, it basically calculates all of the level of like your 5 gear pieces and scales you accordingly. But obviously if you take a couple of bits off, I wouldn't take too much off because you become too squishy. But by taking 1 or 2 pieces off, it takes some levels off and the game thinks, oh, I don't actually have to downscale this player. So it kind of balances the enemies out a little bit more. And they don't deal as much damage. You deal the same damage to them, but obviously they don't take as much. So yeah, it's helpful if you're trying to run friends through the story and stuff and get to expeditions quick. Apparently it also works in expeditions if you're trying to take down maybe 4 or 5 tiers, because I think the game limits you to only being 2 levels stronger than the enemies just naturally. So with me having a level 48 weapon being the heir to the desert, that's irrelevant, because as soon as I come into world tier 15, which scales all the enemies and everything to 42, I'm only allowed to have my stuff balanced as if it was like level 44. Whereas taking off a gear piece or 2 will actually bring that up to its like max potential, even though it works better with skills. It's such a confusing thing, like the way they've balanced this game. But what we're going to do is leave the video there. If you guys can explain it better and pretty much like nutshell it, or pin your comments so that people can understand it better than how I've explained it, because I don't fully know what's going on. I've just heard stuff, tested it, and it does seem to be a little bit better. If you take a piece of gear off to fight the enemies, it scales you differently. But that's going to do it for the video. I will see you in the next one. I hope you guys enjoyed it.